Thank you. Can you hear me okay now? Yeah. As you can tell by my false exit, I don't always do things the traditional way, and it's certainly been that way throughout my career. I've made a lot of mistakes, had some pretty monumental losses, but I've also, I guess if there was a theme about my life, it's about overcoming adversity and never quitting. I like this pivoting, diversifying, reshaping your life skill set. Yeah, I guess that's what's happened to me in the last few years. So yeah, I started out as an actor, and I soon learned in the entertainment industry that you need to diversify to survive. So I became started learning about camera work and editing and producing, making short films, putting them in festivals. And I did a short film called Wilfred, maybe almost 20 years ago. And it was sort of had unprecedented success. I had this bong-smoking dog who, interrogated his owner's new boyfriend. And it went to Sundance, and it became a hit all around the world in festivals. And off the back of that, we made an Australian TV series that was a bit of pretty successful. And when I came to America, with the format rights, I wasn't going to do Wilfred again, but then they said, you got to do Wilfred. So I did it, and I kind of overachieved and had this hit TV series starring Elijah Wood and Robin Williams. The funny thing is, when they convinced me to do the show, I wasn't going to do it. They said, my manager at the time said, this could be your Mork and Mindy, right? Everyone's going to remember the dog. You'll be able to design your career like Robin Williams did, which he thought was funny when I told him that story 2 years later, because he actually was a fan of the show, and he reached out to me. And I said to my manager at the time, Mork and Mindy was my favorite show as a kid, and if you can sell it, I'll do it. And it turned out to be the first TV series that Robin acted in since Mork and Mindy. So that was a massive achievement for me personally. But then the series went for like 4 seasons, and then it finished, and I didn't want to be in Hollywood anymore. I didn't like it, and I was writing scripts, and I'm like, I'm a prisoner to this industry. And I put a joke ad on social media saying Wilfred's weed delivery service. And my fans went kind of crazy, and I thought, well, maybe here's an opportunity for me to pivot and do something different, and have a real business. And I'm a big, stoner for many years. So it was beyond any dream that I could possibly had. I'd already become a TV star. Now I could have my own cannabis company. So I got the rights from FX, and I thought it was going to be pretty easy. I thought I was just going to put my face on things, and a lot of celebrity brands are little more than a photo opportunity and a paycheck. And I nearly went into business with a couple of different companies, and I'd look at the contract, and over the years I got a bit familiar with contracts because I kept getting screwed over in them, and I'm trying to work out where did this go so wrong. And all the contracts I was looking at reminded me too much of my Hollywood contracts. And I'm like, I gotta do better this time. So I started looking at pre-rolls. I mean, this guy in California, I wanted to put pre-rolls on the market, and the company wanted to charge me like $2,000 a pound of flour, and I didn't want it to be pre-rolls that had crap in them. I knew a lot of companies had reputations for just putting their leftover shit in pre-rolls. I wanted to try and raise the quality level of them, and I also wanted to keep it to be a working class brand. I'm a working class guy. I wanted to keep the margins low, so I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I looked into outdoor flour, and that was my window. It was a lot cheaper. I got pounds for like $3.50 a pound, and I got a manufacturing license in California. All of this is nothing like I'd ever done in my life. I was an actor. And then we were taking hits like stolen flour, 24 pounds of flour, and some failed heavy metal testing that wiped out a whole batch that the flour passed, but then once something happened in the pre-rolls making, and there was it triggered up in heavy metals, so we lost the whole batch. I'm like, well, I can't keep taking hits like this, so we shifted to a brand licensing model, and that's what we have now. And so we were basically with a brand licensing model, the vertically integrated company will take over all the operations and we oversee the products. And I step back a bit. I end up having to do everything. Like I designed the packaging, I became the sales rep. I was just hitting the dispensaries with the t-shirt and the hat. I'd say, do you know this guy? They'd like, yeah. Well, you know this guy. And I'd tell them about what I was doing. I got a lot of knockbacks as well. A lot of people hadn't seen the show. But those who had really loved it, and I really believed in the brand. So I got in like 25 dispensaries in California. And at first I'm like thinking, oh, well, if they buy a big batch, then I'll come and get in the dog suit and I'll do an appearance at their thing. Like if they buy, when I was working on TV, I'd turn up somewhere, they'd pay me 10 grand just to turn up. And so I'm like, well, getting in the dog suit's worth 10 grand. So if they buy $10,000 worth of inventory, I'll turn up in the dog suit. I soon learned how hard it was to get in these dispensaries, and it became like, if you carry my brand, I'll get in the dog suit. I'll come and be there. So I'd go and do demos at these places for 3 hours, you know, as me, with my product that I was very proud of. And I would then get in the dog suit, take photos with bartenders and fans that had come along, and built these great relationships with retail partners that become friendships. As you probably all know, the cannabis and hemp industry is very uniting, very supportive of each other. But it's tough. Everyone out there is, you know, it's hard to make a dollar. So I was focusing on brand licensing, and I had contracts in, and this is where the pivoting part comes into it. I mean, I spoke a bit about diversifying. I used all my skills that I'd learned from the industry in television to produce television. And it's just a matter of changing your mindset. You know, like artists, it's often an artist who's a good singer can also act and can also do, it's whatever you want to apply yourself to. And everyone has that artistic ability in them. And everyone, no matter what sort of job they do, can find artistry in that job. So I basically, so then when COVID happened and it just swept through America, I had 6 brand licensing contracts in 6 different states, and they all fell over. They all just froze. And I understood, because everyone had to consolidate what they had rather than start new business ventures. So I had to also pivot. So we put these hemp smokes on the line, and I thought, at least I don't have to go through dispensaries and distributors and all this and all these licenses. I can actually reach my fans with a great product. I use the same philosophy of pre-rolled, cigarette-style hemp smokes had a reputation of being, full of biomass and crap, people's leftover junk. And I wanted to bring the same philosophy of my pre-rolls, that people were successful in California and have only flower in it. I found a great white labeling company, hemp rolls, they're down there at, I'm actually got a store down the end, I don't know the number, in Tennessee, in Chattanooga, and they're fantastic, 80 to 100 milligrams of CBD per smoke. So I was able to put them online and promote them through my character. I had to do it's really difficult with social media, because the man's on social media, so I had to use my character in interesting ways. There was also a lot of love from Facebook and Instagram for Wilfred, I've got to say. I mean, they let me go for a long time before they never shut me down. And I did push the boundaries quite a bit. But that saved the company, that move over to the hemp smokes. And then this year we've put on some Delta 8 products, and they're going pretty good too. So then I wanted to get back into all this time, by the way, I was in Spain. It was really difficult. My wife was from Spain. We went there for 6 to 12 months for our little kids to spend time with their grandparents. And then COVID happened, and we said, just let's lay low here for a while. And that turned into 2 years. But it got to the stage where it was really hard. I'd call up companies. So I do the sales even with the CBD smokes, with the CBD stuff and the hemp line. And again, it's about, I just Googled the best skills of telemarketers. I mean, telemarketers have been driving me crazy for years. I thought, why can't I be a telemarketer for my own brand? You know, like I'm getting more than 10%, and I'm just, and so I printed it. I printed it up on my wall, and I just applied all those same skills. And I'm actually a shy guy. I'm an extroverted introvert, which means I overcompensate for my painful shyness to become an actor of all crazy things. It was ridiculous. By the time I realized I didn't need to do that, I had no other skills except acting. That's why I'm so blessed and proud to be in this industry now. But so I have this theory that, and hang on. Yeah, so then with the cannabis, I split the company into two parts. There's a cannabis company, and now there's a CBD hemp company. I'm running the hemp operation, but with the cannabis, I'm back into the brand licensing. So for a little while, when COVID was happening, taking off, and all of these, it became an essential item in a lot of places. Flower was the power, no one needed a brand. It's like if you could grow it, you could sell it. And then there became like an influx of weed everywhere, like in Oklahoma now. There's a lot of places where was too much, so brands are suddenly important again. So that's why I came back to America 2 months ago, and that's why I'm like hitting these events and just determined to blow the company up. And so with the brand licensing, my goal is to have cannabis in as many states as I can be in. And in the meantime, like I got retail partners now in 17 states just from me calling them up. Some people hang up on me. It's not a very nice feeling. Some people have never heard of me. I tell them, well, ask around. And my goal is to establish a presence in every state. I call it my flag in the moon theory. And if the Wilfred brand can be in every territory, when the time comes for national end of cannabis prohibition, legalization, that when Willie Nelson and Tommy Chong and all those guys try to enter territories where cannabis being illegal, we're already there. We just flick a switch and we're ready to go. So I'm probably running really under time. So if anyone's got any questions about anything like what I'm doing, I mean, I also know a little bit about branding. It's a fairly unique character to brand. It's unlike any other celebrity brand in that, well, for a start, it's a fictitious character. Probably the closest to it is Tommy Chong, in that he's a comedian. And but yeah, from the beginning, I was determined to, make this Wilfred emblem the Colonel Sanders of cannabis, or maybe the Paul Newman, that sort of signature face. And I'm also aware that as an actor that I do a lot of content that I'm also not going to be Wilfred. I'm not going to be around forever, yet I'm trying to make a brand that lasts for many years beyond me. I'd like for one day people to sort of say, wow, Wilfred was a TV show. So I'm kind of designing the brand and the marketing. We're about to do a big shoot, Marlboro Man, sort of a tribute in Missouri, where we've got some big business happening. So I'm really hoping with sort of my vision to, take also advertising, like we can't advertise on TV, so there's no point sticking to the 30-second ad anymore, so I'm doing some pretty exciting narrative stuff that is more like, almost like a television series really, but it's also totally an ad. It's called Planet of the Dogs, and it's basically following Wilfred as a space traveler going from planet to planet, planting hemp and cannabis, sharing it with the Earth's the planet's natives, which is kind of actually based on, I don't know if you heard the Dogon tribe. I'm talking about 3 minutes. Oh, that's good, thanks. Has anyone got any questions before I go into the Dogon tribe and the mythology that cannabis was brought to us from the Sirius star system? Well, I'll go into it because I'm fascinated by it. I'm an ancient astronaut theorist, have been for many years. And the Dogon tribe are an African tribe who's taken great, painstaking skills to preserve their history. and their mythology, which is a term I hate because it just assumes that it's myth, was that extraterrestrials came from the Sirius star system and they brought cannabis and gave it to humanity to help us with the evolution of our consciousness as a gift to us. Now, the Dogons were able to describe the constellation and the twin Sirius star system in ways that in only recent years we've been able to confirm with modern technology and telescopes and stuff. So to me it's a fascinating story, and I'm developing a TV series called The Cannabis Code, which actually goes into the theology, like cannabis was used throughout many religions, many years, and many different ancient civilizations all have a unique history with cannabis. And I've for many years said my relationship with cannabis is a spiritual one, just instinctively. So I'm about trying to dig into the spiritual medicine of cannabis, as well as the obvious CBD, the benefits that come to the physical, which is what we're focusing on now. But I think in future, I mean, we're dealing with PTSD, using it for treatment with depression, anxiety, that stuff, that's close to it. But yeah, so that's my story. I hope that it's of interest to some people. It's certainly, from where I came from and with the background that I grew up in, I've well and truly overachieved. It's a blessing for me to be here. I appreciate all your time. We've got a stall down there. It's wilfredcbd.com or wilfredcannabis.com, or follow me on @Wilfred on Instagram. If you're interested in doing business with me, or even just saying hi, I say hello to everyone. I'll talk to you. I'll help you if I can. Thankfully, Wilfred, the TV series, was a show that dealt with, not only did it normalize cannabis, but it dealt with mental health issues, which is something that is very close to my heart. So my Instagram message box is always open. So thanks very much.